Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Face the Truth podcast. My guest this week is the astonishing, astounding, stunning, and phenomenal, awe-inspiring, sensational, total amazeballs, wondrous Mark Watrous.
How's it going?
Please welcome Mark Watrous, everybody. I had to give you a little bit of a special intro there. But hey, man, how you doing?
I'm great. I have zero complaints in life.
That's good.
I'm not sure I was ever the kind of person that had a lot of complaints before, but I'm still on the right track, I think.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what you been up to, man? It's been like so long since last time we
I know.
At least 5 years, maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been a long time. I mean, what's been up? I've been everywhere. I've kind of been all over the place. I mean, I guess the last time I saw you probably might have been up in Wisconsin or Chicago. I don't know.
No, actually, I think if I remember correctly, it might be. I think the last time was when we did that. I came up to Nashville for that New Year's thing Corey had at that warehouse with Buddy Jackson and
Yeah.
right. That was with was that 2013 maybe?
12 or 13, yeah.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, man. You moved, I think, since then, right?
Yeah, we moved like 5 houses away.
Okay.
Just like right down to the end of the same street.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, I had a kid. We had a kid. So our house was, you remember our house? It was.
Oh yeah. It was awesome.
We had renovated it, and that house was perfect for being 35 and drinking until 4 a.m. hanging out in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then we had a kid, and it was like, oh wow, we didn't think this through. She's gonna kill herself on those stairs. It was like.
Yeah.
There was no more hanging out. There was no more. The house was just laid out for our pre-baby existence. And so we just started kind of looking for other things. And this house at the end of the street it had been kind of sitting there for a few years.
Oh wow!
So, yeah,
that's awesome.
We just made him an offer, and now we're here.
That's sweet, man.
Yeah.
And is that where you're at right now?
Yeah.
So
I have like a basement studio.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome. That's cool. That's awesome, man. So you decided to stick with that whole music thing and all that?
Yeah. Still your plan B is in the wing.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. So what's been going on with the music lately? Because I know that it's funny because I wrote you and of course I know you from the stuff that you did with the Raconteurs, and then you were doing stuff with the Shins, and then your own personal band. But I also, like, when I asked you, like, what's been going on, you sent me, like, this insane list. See, I don't even know how you, like, have time for anything, for all this stuff, but you've been, like, insanely busy, it seems like.
Yeah. I've been really busy. I kind of feel like, there's nothing going on. I'm just like, not that there's nothing going on. I'm, like, raising my kid. And that's a lot. But yeah, I'm like, I'll feel like there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden 50 things just sort of drop at the same time, and I never say no to anything. So
yeah, that's my problem.
So the last like 4 months has been just brutal because I'm not, I'm kind of living on 4 hours of sleep a night, trying to get it all done. But what's going on? I got I am in a new band. We started this new band called Neon Castles with Bruno Bo, who he played with Mooney Suzuki. He's been part of the whole Best Fest kind of family. And he just played with a ton of different people. A singer named Philip Creamer, who has his own project called Creamer. And he's an insane vocalist, super nice, great guy. And then an old friend of mine named Nate Barnes, who played drums forever in a band called Rose Hill Drive that my old band Loudermilk and Gosling did some tours with. So I've known Nate for 15 years or something like that. And he just moved to town. So yeah, we just sort of had this thing that just sort of organically came together, and we played our second show last night, and we're kind of moving forward, hoping to do some touring maybe in the early summer. That's
awesome. That's crazy, man. I know what it, I mean, I've been the same kind of thing. Like, I don't know if it's just, is it like this with you with the music stuff where it's like kind of like rain or shine? I mean, like when it rains, it pours, and just like, because I mean, it just seems like there's times with my work, my illustration stuff, where it's just like, man, is someone gonna call me? You know, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, it's just like, whoa. Wait,
everybody, hold on.
You like
kind of so much time.
Yeah. You like, there's that basically, like, there's times where I'm like waiting, like, someone call me, please, and then, excuse me, then I basically take on every single thing because I'm like, I gotta make, and then it's like way too much, and before you know it, you're not, you're working nights and all that stuff. But it's got to be, you're literally living in the beehive of, that industry right now. So I'm sure it's just like, oh, Mark's just a block away or whatever. It's
been crazy lately. I joined this project and we started working on that, and then kind of over the holidays, everything had been like you said, it was just kind of barren, not a whole lot going on, and then all of a sudden this Loudermilk reunion came up, and so we're doing that in April. So that's been I'm cool. Literally as I'm talking to you, I'm like designing all the merch stuff for that right now. So yeah, that came up. So that's a whole lot. That's a big chunk to bite off. And then I've been producing a guy. He's a Japanese artist named Yuji Oniki. So he's been in here in my studio for the last 2 weeks. We just wrapped up on Friday. I've kind of just been, burning the candle at both ends and in the middle sometimes.
How does it, being a new dad, or not newish, she's what, 4 now?
She's 3.5.
3.5. How has that affected the creativity or the music or just the lifestyle?
It's been the best.
It's inspiring, right?
Yeah. It's incredible. It's, I'm sure you have gone through it. Before we had her, I had all day to just sort of mess around and work on whatever I wanted to work on and take that as far as I wanted to take it. Go down every possible rabbit hole. And I remember having a conversation with a couple of guys, and both of them had kids, and they were, it was like, oh, like, Yuki, you haven't told them about the laser focus yet, have you? And I was like, what are we talking about? And they're like, there's a thing that's going to happen. Like once you have a kid, where you have 45 minutes to get this drum track done, or to get this thing accomplished. And like, there's like a set of existential goggles that go on. It's like, you hone in on that thing that you have to get accomplished, and you do it. I'm kind of, it's taken a while because I'm just now starting to get this, the studio is just now kind of fully functioning, and I've been off the road for a while, just sort of tending to her. And now I'm kind of popping my head out and saying yes to everything, but it's exactly what they were saying. It's like, oh, okay, I got this little window to do things. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the best, the best version of itself in 45 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, totally. No, I totally get it, man. I have a new 2-year-old. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I don't know if you, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my wife's pregnant again, so we've got girl number 4, daughter number 4 coming in.
Whoa.
I think early July actually.
Okay.
So I definitely understand that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's one of those things where I mean, like some people think I'm crazy. Like you're having another kid. It's like, well, I love it, man.
Yeah.
Like, and it's the same thing though. Like I recently, you know, I think as a creative person, it's really hard to like stop trying to just be creative and push yourself in different directions. And
Yeah.
I'm always trying to find different creative outlets. That's why I do this. And then, you know, I recently started doing stand-up comedy, and it's just a fun passion that I've got going on, and it's just something for me. But I got kids and everything, so I have to like, you know, I work on my material when I walk my dog, you know,
Yeah.
or any little moment I have, I'm taking a shit, I start writing stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like any moment, like that's where I start. And then the kids, you know, when they go to bed, I ask the wife, can I sneak? Because that's when the club's open.
Yeah.
Can I sneak out for like an hour or two, do some bits, and then I'll come back? And so it's kind of one of those things where, you know, you just figure out it's that focus thing you're saying, like, just try to do what you can to, because otherwise, I don't want to just like rot away and not be creative.
Yeah.
But at the same time, kids are an amazing boost for that inspiration, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's also kind of one of the things that spawned me joining this Neon Castles project was, I was doing a lot of co-writing and production work for people here in my basement. And generally how it would work was somebody comes in, we write a song, they sing it real quick, and then they leave. And they're like, okay, see you. So you're going to do the rest of it. You're going to record everything, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. You know? And it was just a lot of me by myself working alone.
Yeah.
Sort of in a vacuum. And it's fun. I love it, but it got a little tedious, you know?
Yeah.
You I'm sure understand, like you're alone working on something and trying to get that piece from 0 to 100%. And sometimes you know, that's just not always the best route for creativity. Sometimes you got to work with other people. Sometimes you have to, you know, everybody throw some paint on the canvas together, and you know, it might not be it might not always be the exact thing that you would have done given your, you know, infinite time and expression, but you don't learn in a vacuum.
Oh yeah, for sure. Are you having to work with certain deadlines too with certain projects? Like you have to have things done by this time.
Yeah,
that definitely puts the pressure on. Also. Yeah,
and it'll, you know, it's not always like that, but sometimes it's like, hey, we need blah 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 by this date, and so you gotta kind of hop to.
And you said that you're also designing artwork and stuff as well. So you're I'm doing like, it's just the basic, you know, t-shirts and pins and stuff like that right now. Oh, okay.
But
still, that's also like an added little bit. Now, so I was just thinking about this when I first met you. I think, man, it was maybe like 2010 or something like that, and you were playing with Corey. And at the time, you were living in New York. Is that where you're originally from, or were you just living?
No, I'm from Washington State. I've kind of bounced all over.
All right.
I grew up in Washington State, and lived there until I was in my early 20s, like 19 or 20, and then moved down to LA for a bit, back to Washington, back down to LA, and I was in LA until 2007, and then met my wife and moved to New York. So we were in New York for 5 years together, and then we moved down here.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering if you were just like, well, I was just curious, really. I mean, it makes sense a little bit now saying not that you wouldn't be a guitar player, whatever you were living in New York, but I was just trying to think of, you know, where in Washington was it?
It's the eastern side of Washington. It's a little place called the Tri-Cities.
Because you definitely, to me, when you say Washington, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I bet you had the flannel flying. I picture you walking through doors with just fog coming through them and everything. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I'm actually not from the fog and the flannel thing was all like a kind of west side.
Yeah.
That's like a west side of the state. I'm from like
Sure.
the barren desert side where
Oh, okay.
we all
That's
we
funny.
all dressed like greasers from the 50s when I was a kid.
So how old were you when you started getting into was guitar your first thing you started playing?
No, I grew up in a family that it was just sort of a very spoken. There was no way of getting out of life without playing instruments. That was just sort of what my family did. So my parents put me in violin when I was 3 and put me in piano when I was 5. And that was sort of mandatory until I was 15. And then I was old enough to
What was the reason for that? I mean, just love music, family that loves music, or is it just like, I mean, are your parents Japanese? I mean,
no, but no, I think my mom noticed that I was really interested. I had they got me some kind of toy keyboard thing or something, and really really quickly I could play songs on that, and then I transferred that over to the piano, and I was really quickly. I think she noticed. Oh,
that's cool.
He knows what he's doing on that thing. I should probably do something with that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they put me in violin because I don't think they wanted me to play violin. Who wants their 3-year-old to play violin? But violin's one of those instruments that doesn't sound pretty for at least 10 years. You gotta do 10 years before it starts sounding good. But no, there was a teacher that would teach really little kids. So that was sort of the first steps. And then I it was the 80s and I wanted to be in cool rock bands. So guitar was the thing.
Yeah.
That was what you wanted to do. And so, I mean, I think I saved up when I was 8 or 9 and bought my first guitar from a pawn shop or something. And started building bands with the neighborhood kids when I was probably 12.
Yeah.
13.
That's awesome, man. That's crazy. I grew up. My family was all music. Well, mostly my dad. So I had music my whole life. And my dad, I remember him like always trying to tell me to, try to show me stuff in the guitar, and I just kept blowing it off. I wanted to be a drummer, and I still love to tap on things and can sort of drum, but never. I don't think they wanted a drum set in the house.
Right.
And I remember when I was like, I think I was 16 maybe. I went into a music store, and the guy in there was like, and I was just looking at the guitars. I thought they were so cool, and I'm like, I don't know. And that was like the grunge era, right? Like I'm like really like into like Nirvana and everything. And he hands me this JSX Jackson. It's like black with the sharp, everything's sharp and pointy.
Like a sharpening stone with it.
Yeah, exactly. That real thin neck, so you can just be like, and he's all like, you get this guitar, chicks are gonna like dig you, dude. And I was like, that's all it took. And I was like, I'll take it. Well, I couldn't take it. I actually had to put the thing on hold, and I had to work for like a long time before I got it. I finally got this thing. And then I started teaching myself how to play guitar by, just putting in my favorite, I didn't listen to my dad.
Right.
I just wanted to figure out. So I put in a CD I liked and just moved my hands around until I started sounding like it. And then it was just funny because eventually I ended up joining in a band, but I didn't really play guitar in it. I just, like pretty much a week or so after I started trying to play guitar, I was in a band. It was like it happened that quick. And my first show ever was a week later, and I did play guitar, and I knew enough in 1 week to be able to do power chords.
Yeah.
So like my first time performing ever, I was up there like, just like like the not even a full power chord, just the 2 fingers,
just the 2, yeah.
Yeah. So that was
the only important ones.
Yeah, that was like the rough beginning. But it was just funny because my dad couldn't believe it because he was in bands in the 80s and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, you start playing guitar and a week later you got a show. It's like, but I mean, I think it was like cool. It was like the cool thing to be in a band then or whatever. And it just happened. And, you know, and then eventually I started learning how to play guitar for real. And then I got rid of the JSX and got I ended up getting I still have it. It was a Fender 50-year reissue model. And it was like a celebration of 50 years of Fender, and that thing was awesome because it never went out of tour, or out of tune. Like I remember going on tour. There was when I moved to Chicago, I joined a bunch of bands, and a couple of them we went on tour for weeks at a time, and I loved it because you could literally pull everything out of the trailer, hop in, go on stage, totally in tune. It's the best guitar ever.
Yeah.
But those are the good old days. You're still doing it though, man.
Trying.
But it's awesome. You know, I love watching you play. I think it's been a while, like I said, but I think Lincoln Hall was one of the last times I saw you play. I think you were playing with Brendan Benson, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Was that Lincoln Hall?
Yeah, probably.
And the thing that bothers me about watching you play is how. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being totally serious because I sit there and I enjoy the music and I'm watching you play, but you almost look like you look like you're not even trying at all. And I mean, you just look so effortless. When I'm watching what you're playing,
all my effort is going into trying to look like I'm not. I'm not
so that's
any effort.
That's the move. I want to make everyone think, because I mean, you're playing some pretty crazy stuff, but it looks like, oh man, I see how I could do that. You make it look so simple, and I was just wondering, you know, what to this day, still when you play, are you constantly? Because now with all the producing and the, you know, playing with all these different bands and everything else, do you have time to even practice, or is it more just like second nature now? You got to that point where it's just.
No. I definitely get rusty. It takes me a bit to get back into the swing. I'm not someone that practices. You know, I pick up a guitar, and generally, if I'm just messing around, I'll pick up a guitar and I'll play the same thing every time. You know, it always 4 or 5 songs I'll always go to.
Just like a workout.
I don't really practice though. So when it's time to actually, okay, we're going to rehearsal, and we're, you know, there will be all right, I got to get my fingers back in shape. I got to stretch, how does that thing go? I can't remember, you know?
Yeah.
It takes me, and playing live is the thing that does it. That's the thing that knocks all the cobwebs off.
Yeah.
Because I can practice in a rehearsal room or by myself and feel like I'm 80% there. But after 2 shows in front of people, everything kind of comes back.
Starts to feel more natural.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know how it works in my brain. There's a certain amount of access that I can only get to by practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And the performance thing immediately knocks that last 20% off.
And
you
can have audiences too that just suck, you know?
Yeah.
That just what has that ever happened? What's one of your worst experiences? I always find that funny.
Worst experiences?
Because you've been in so many bands and tours, there's got to be some crazy shit that's happened.
Gosh, I mean, we did a really Loudermilk's first proper tour. We inexplicably, our record, we'd made a record, and it hadn't even, I don't even think it had been mixed yet. But our record, or maybe the rough mixes, had made it into the hands of Nikki Sixx and of Motley Crue fame. He liked our band, and we ended up touring with Motley Crue Megadeth, and Anthrax.
Wow.
It was the first real proper tour we'd ever done. We were playing on the side stage, so we would play for like 45 minutes as people filed into these. They were like outdoor amphitheaters. We played on the side stage, and people would walk past us, and then Anthrax would play, and then there'd be a 15-minute changeover, and we'd play in that 15-minute changeover, and then Megadeth would play, and we'd play in the next. We'd do 3 sets a day, just to keep people's attention, I guess. But if you're familiar with what that band was, it was a band that was much more in the Queen, Smashing Pumpkins, Muse, Sonic arena. Yeah. It didn't really belong anywhere near Motley Crue or that style of music. And it's stuff I grew up on. It's stuff I love. We were all stoked to be there. We were stoked to like get to meet these guys and play these shows until we realized, oh, wait a minute. We have no business actually being on this ticket, and we got a lot of beer thrown at us. So
oh my gosh!
I think it was a pretty rough summer, but it was an awesome learning experience, and we figured out a lot about how to be a touring band and how to just coexist, because we never had to really do that, Yeah.
Now, when you guys are going to tour with those guys, how was the setup? I mean, because those guys are touring like in huge tour buses and all that kind of stuff. So how were you guys getting along? I'm sure
we were just in a little van.
Yeah, and you had to carry all your own shit and everything.
Yeah.
Did you get the leftover ladies after we're done with Motley Crue? You get these poor terribly sad ladies show up.
No, we were really.
Have you seen that movie? It was like the Motley Crue movie.
Yeah.
That's all I was thinking. I was like, it's so terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we were like, what's the term? We were just sort of like dumbfounded when we got out there and started interacting with that crowd, because we're from Washington State, and we came of age in the grunge and like Washington punk K records. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of like Riot Girl stuff happening, and the debauchery thing that is synonymous with Motley Crue and Megadeth, all that, like that era of music, that was gone by the time we really started like forming our identities as musicians. And we're like 19, 20 years old. So we had like it had honestly never really occurred to us that this was going to be something we would see.
Yeah. That's funny.
And we every once in a while, if someone stuck around and liked the band, they'd be like, oh, can sign my chest? And, and like all of us would be like, are we allowed? What's going to happen to me if I do? We just didn't, we were kind of shocked that existed, that it came into our space, because we really were like we kept ourselves very removed and protected from that kind of world.
That's good. It can be a easy road to chaos. I got a funny story for you. When I was on, there was this punk band called Goaty Hook, and they were on Tooth and Nail Records, and we were so excited. We got a tour booked with them, my band, and it was a 7-week tour, and we basically had a show every day for 7 weeks. There was a couple days off, and we went everywhere. And they had this rental truck, and they gutted it. They didn't gut it. They rented this rider truck, and they had this. They've been on tour for so long. They had a system of how to build beds in there and all this kind of stuff, so they don't have to, it's way cheaper than a bus or anything like that. So they had this whole thing built up, and we were on tour with them for a couple weeks, and like I don't know if well, from our perspective, we weren't a huge band, but we were starting to get attention to people, so that's why we got asked to be on the tour. But it took a few weeks for them to start like saying hi to us,
right?
And then eventually we started going out to like Denny's afterwards together, and the lead singer would still like sit on the other side of the restaurant because he was too cool, to hang with us. But eventually one time we had to go from we had 2 shows in that day, and we played it was like an afternoon show, and then we had to go like 4 or 5 hours to the next place and then play a night show. And they were like, "Hey man, you want to come ride in the truck with us and hang while?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I was like, "Yeah, I'm one of the guys." And they had like a whole video game thing set up in there.
Yeah.
And so I start playing video games, and we're having a good time. And I think the video game thing, while you're in the back of this thing moving and there's no windows.
Yeah.
Like by the time we show up to the club, I was just like, I am so sick right now. Like it was just terrible. And we get to the club, and I'm like, I don't even start doing anything with gear. I just run in. I'm like, they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm in one of the bands. I got to go to the bathroom so bad. Where's the bathroom? Where's the bathroom? And they're like, it's right here. So I get into this bathroom, and it's like Dumb and Dumber, right? Just sitting on that, just like, whoa, just, and so now I'm done. I feel relieved. Thankfully, everything's like good. I made it. I flushed the toilet, and it starts to rise, and it won't stop. It won't stop. I'm like, no. And I had nowhere to go because I'm like, this is gonna overflow, and it's just full of nastiness.
Yeah.
And I jumped up on top of the sink and put my foot in the wall, and I'm just standing there. I had my pants pulled up, still unbuttoned, but I'm standing there, and it's overflowing, and the door of the club had about an inch underneath of it, and it just starts pouring into the club. All my shit. And I'm just like,
wait. Is this like they haven't opened doors yet?
No. They haven't opened doors yet. Thankfully.
Okay.
This is like maybe, but still, people are starting to come in and like set things up and everything.
Right.
But I'm like standing there. I'm like, no, and it's just going over. And then someone opened the door, and because they saw, they're like, what the heck? And I'm just like standing there on the wall on the sink, like, I'm so sorry. And like, I had nowhere to go, so I literally stood on this sink and touched on the top of the toilet and stuff, while someone came in and just like mopped up all. I mean, it was the worst. It was the worst way to start the show,
Yeah.
And of course, you can't live that down for like the rest of the tour. Of course, they talked about it on stage.
Yep.
As
you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So that was one of my worst.
Thank you all for being here tonight and paying your hard-earned money. Here's a story about poop.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't get invited into the van again, or the rider. But it was fun, man. Yeah, those are the good old days. I was probably like that was like 90, 98, 99, something like that. Yeah, back in the punk rock days.
Yep.
So that first band that you were in, or not, it wasn't probably the first one, but one of it, Loudermilk.
Yeah, Loudermilk.
So that's the one that you're going to be playing with again soon.
Yeah. We haven't played. Loudermilk had a second life as Gosling. We sort of reached the end of what we wanted to do as Loudermilk. We kind of felt like we don't want to keep doing this. We also don't want to go try and start other bands and figure out how to be in bands with other people. We'd been in this band since we were in high school together. And so we just sort of cut off the old catalog and changed the name of the band and started fresh. And yeah, we made a record and an EP and some vinyl as Gosling. But the Loudermilk was kind of the thing that we all kept coming back to, like, oh, one day we'll get back to that. That's at some point we knew that we were gonna get back together, and it's been since 2004. We haven't played that music. Gosling broke up in 2007, but yes, it's been a while since we all got together and played music. So we're really excited about it. A little bit nervous, but it's gonna be a really fun time.
What are you nervous about?
You know, I'm always nervous. I'm a nervous guy. I'm a very nervous guy.
I don't know. I don't see that, man.
You know, it's a lot. It's a lot to. We're only playing shows, you know, kind of around our hometown, and there's I think, at least in my mind, there's a certain amount of anticipation around it. You know, I don't want to. We don't want to just show up and be the old guys playing the old songs. We want to do it the very best we could possibly do it. And we've got very little laser focus. We've got very little time to make sure it's kind of hitting on all cylinders.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the only thing I'm nervous about. It's just making sure that it's as good as it could possibly be, but also not stressing to the point that it isn't fun, because I want to do it more. If there's a possibility of doing more of it, I would love to do that. So
yeah, that's cool.
You
know, like Nashville is. I mean, I love Nashville. It's a pretty cool town, but I mean, what's it like with, you know, the whole music scene right now? I mean, because it seems like there's so much going on, so many musicians, so many studio musicians, so many bands. Of course, you got like the honky tonk strip where people are playing all the time.
Yeah.
But are there? I mean, what's the scene like if you're going to play shows and stuff like that in the area?
Well, I think I kind of got that answered for me last night. I'm kind of a shut-in at this point. I don't leave my house anymore. I kind of, you know, we had a kid, and our social lives really, really changed. And then we just kind of forgot to go back to it. You know, she's old enough now that we can leave her with a sitter, but I could go out and hang out at a bar, and I don't really drink anymore. So like, I could drink soda water at a bar and listen to really loud music, or I could stay home and read books with my kid. And and that to me is way more fun. Maybe just because I did the loud music in a bar. I do that, like, you know, that's kind of my work life.
Yeah.
Is doing that. So yeah, hanging out with her is just as fun as going out. So yeah, I really don't get to go out and see bands that much. I should do more of that. But last night I was talking to someone, and they were talking about this Neon Castles band and how they're really excited that there's a new band in town. And it occurred to me, whoa, yeah, I guess that's true. People aren't really forming bands here. They're forming projects. They're forming, hey, I wrote some songs to, I say this like I know anything about anything. It seems to me like people do more, they have projects to see if anything sticks.
Yeah.
You know? And you'll have a you know, some people, you know, a couple of guys, you know, a couple of girls write some songs to potentially pitch to something, and okay, well, that seems like maybe there's some traction there. Let's get some other people to play with us, and we'll call it a band. But if the chips are down, we're probably not going to do that anymore. I feel like there's a really transitory relationship to projects and working with the same people here.
Yeah.
Or at least that's where it's gotten to. So yeah, you know, this person was saying last night, the idea of there actually being a proper band where everybody's involved, everyone's helping make the decisions and helping to write and to push this thing forward. I was surprised that it was a rare thing, but I think it might be.
Interesting. I mean, it just seems like to me that it just seems like such an oversaturated town when it comes to that, like, but that makes sense that there's actually not really a band, but it's like, of course Jack is there and like, he's got his fingers in like a million pots. But a lot of those bands that he's working with are just from all over the place, right? They're not really necessarily.
I guess so, yeah.
Because like I know there's I've got a few friends that I've met throughout the years that seem to be doing studio stuff in Nashville, but they're always like playing with someone else's band, that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. Yeah, I haven't been there for a little bit, but I just remember like the last time I think I was there might have been that last time I was talking. I think that might have been the last time I was in Nashville, and it was like the honky tonk scene and everything is kind of fun and everything, but it doesn't seem like there's other like venues, like actual venues where there's like full on shows. I mean, I know there's that famous church place or whatever that's called, Ryman or Ryman.
Yeah.
They do comedy there and stuff too. Oh, that might be the last time I was there. Actually, was that was the last time I was there. Brendan had that show.
Oh, the Brendan Benson and Friends.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was
really fun.
I almost forgot about that. That was really cool. So yeah, man, it's so cool hearing you like talk about your kid and everything, because it's just like, I mean, it's been since the last time I saw you, you guys didn't have a kid.
Yeah.
And I just love watching you guys, like, it's so cool just like seeing it happen, seeing someone from the other perspective. And it's one of those things that's hard to explain unless someone actually has kids that really actually loves them and appreciates them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's crazy when you see or hear nutty things about people with their kids. You're like, what the heck, man? It's like the best thing in the world. But I was thinking about like you and your kids. I've seen her playing instruments and stuff. Are you guys doing music with her, or just letting it happen natural, or is it kind of just one of those things?
I don't think we're gonna really push her to play anything. Maybe because I think I felt pushed into it. And I love doing it, but there was never a point in my life where it seemed like, I'm not going to do that. It's just sort of, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even, I'm not even sure that I would say that, I mean, yes, I love making music, but it's just sort of so always there for me that it's less of a I love music or I like music than it is just there isn't for me in my life, there was just never an absence of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know how I feel about it. It's just something that I always have to do.
No, but I mean, do you think that being like, I mean, she's growing up around someone who's, loves music and is playing music. I mean, it's got to influence. I mean, reason I'm bringing it up is just because I feel the exact same way. I don't. I have 3 daughters, number 4 on the way, and they're all creative in their own ways.
Yeah.
But I feel the same way. Like my dad is an artist, a painter, and all that sort of thing. And he didn't really push it on me either. He kind of let me discover it for myself. But because I was surrounded by it, it just became. It just was the air I breathed. And so it's interesting watching all my daughters in their own way. Like right now, my 16-year-old. I can't believe I have a 16-year-old. It's creepy to say that. She's almost 17. But she's going to a special kind of art school, high school thing. Mm-hmm. And, I helped her get into the school, just helped her prepare and work on some pieces so that, I kind of guided her in some stuff, but she did it all on her own. She got in, she wanted to do it. But it's funny, ever since she's been in, I just wash my hands of it, and you're on your own.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes like she doesn't really talk to me about her projects or anything, and I have to like say, hey, what are you working on? How's it going? And every once in a while she'll be like, oh, I'm doing pretty good, but I'm having a really hard time in this drawing class, and I just really don't understand how. I'm like, hello, like, what do I do every day? Like, but I don't want to push it, And then my 13-year-old is really into writing. Like, she's obsessed with reading and writing, and she's actually working on a novel. And it sounds ridiculous, but she really is. She's like on chapter 7 now. She's super serious about it. She just like writes and writes and writes. And so I'm like, that's so
amazing.
Cool. So I try to like encourage it, but also I think it's good to just stay back and just encourage it, let it happen.
Yeah.
And then with the 2-year-old, this little, she's only 2, but she loves painting. And it's just funny because her mom's a painter. I'm a painter. We got her an easel, and she'll just go up to her mama and be like, Mama, I paint now. And we'll just set it up and get a little apron on, and she knows her colors and stuff. She's like, lalo, blue. And like, and what's interesting watching her is, again, like, she's seen me paint before and stuff. She always says, oh, wow, but like, it's just fun watching this little person with their own personality. And you just see that there's a spark in there. There's something that's so amazing, beautiful, and unique about them. Whereas, like, I've seen other kids paint before, but it's just funny to me. You can't help it but just be like, it's almost narcissistic in a way where you're like, that's like a little me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, you're sitting there and I'm watching this 2-year-old squint her eyes at a piece of paper and just carefully dab it and then look back and reflect on what she just did. And then she'll like turn the easel and she'll say, look it, and I'm like, it's so cool watching that. It's and then of course we hang them up for her, and then she has to show people. She's like, come look it,
Yeah.
It's just amazing, man.
Yeah.
But you can't. That's the thing is,
But I guess like, what you're talking about is, I think is you just did a much better version of I think what I didn't actually say but was trying to get at which is, I don't want to push her to do it. Yeah. I don't want to like force her hand into it. I think in my life I felt initially like I was kind of forced into it.
Yeah.
And then I had to find a way. I had to find the outlet that I loved. And I don't want to force her into any path with it. If she's interested in music, there's a million instruments for her to play. She can play whatever she wants. But if she's not, that's also perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And if she wants to just explore it and ask for help, I think that's like where I would. That would be my ideal.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge sports fan at all. I'm not like I'm not crazy about sports. But if my daughter was like all of a sudden super obsessed with sports, I'd be at the games. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Now, do you read music? Like, do you know how to read music?
Yeah, sorta.
Okay. Yeah, that's been something that I've never been able to do. I've always just played by ear, basically.
Yeah. That was my thing. I kind of cheated my way through sight reading.
Yeah, same
because
here.
Because I could always, if you played it for me, I could play it right back to you. And so as I got a little bit older and people wanted me to sight read, I'd be working with my teacher and I'd start trying to read the thing and I'd kind of pause, and if I messed up, I'd wait for them to play it. Like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. Yeah. Now I'm reading. I could wait for them to play it, and then I would play it back.
So hard. I never could understand it. I'm to this day I'm really annoyed at my high school choir teacher. I wanted to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I was in some acting classes, and actually before I was in acting class, I tried out for this play in high school. And part of the play, and this is so embarrassing, but it was called the 1940s Radio Hour, and you had to have a monologue prepared and you had to have a song prepared. I didn't know that there was like rules to this or anything. I just showed because I wasn't in the acting classes. So, but all the acting students, they knew from their teacher what they were supposed to do. I show up at this thing. I'm the only one that doesn't have sheet music. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in a very hardcore Christian type family, and I was only allowed to listen to Christian music. And there was this metal band called Tourniquet. They're just like this metal, like I don't even know what you would compare them to, but they had this really cheesy ballad, and I could sing it really well. So I sang that ballad a cappella. They were like, "Do you have any sheet music?" I'm like, "Nah, and they're like, "Okay." So I just sang this song a cappella, and apparently it impressed the choir teacher because he was there for the auditions. And then my monologue was was from the movie. What's that guy's name? He's always like Ernest. Ernest Goes to Jail. My monologue was a scene from Ernest Goes to Jail.
Jim
like,
Varney.
Yeah, it was like hey Vern, like so retarded, so stupid, like why would I? It was so embarrassing. But I did get in the play because of it. But here's the thing: is the choir teacher contacted my parents and was like, I really want him in class. He needs to be in choir. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no way. I already got picked on enough. I did not want to be in choir class. And he was like, no, he insisted on it. And I remember like having a negotiation saying, hey, if you can teach, like I can't read music. I was in piano lessons for 3 years and I faked it the whole time. Yeah. I just figured it out. I can't read music. He's like, oh, don't worry about that. It's mostly singing. So then he would do these things where, we'd sing and everything else and I'd get graded on my singing. And then you have to go into a little sound booth box with him, and then he'd open up this little booklet and you're supposed to look at it and sing, and I'd be like, I can't fucking read that.
Yeah,
that I can't read it. And he's like, have you been practicing? I don't understand it. No one has. And he would fail me in all of these tests, and it's like you wanted me,
you brought me here
to anyway, kind of a diversion, but it's just one of those things where I've always been annoyed about that because it would be cool to be able to read music in a way, but I also feel like it's kind of an interesting thing to be able to just feel it,
Yeah. Well, I have always been mystified. My mom is one of these people that can do this. I've always been mystified by people that can read music. That is like magic to me. That I see someone look at a piece of paper and like I feel like that girl on Game of Thrones when Sam is talking to her about like all the things that he read in the old ledgers, and she said, "You know all that by looking at markings on paper? You're like a wizard." Like, like
that's true.
I feel like that about people that can sight read and that can sight read well, because it makes a little sense to me. I can look at it and I can make it work if I really think about it. But music doesn't exist on paper for me. Music only exists on the instrument. Mm-hmm. And the paper is so my relationship to it is that the paper is this like very, very confusing guide. And then I see people sight read, and the most beautiful music comes out of them just sight reading off this piece of paper. And I've had conversations with them, and they kind of feel like the flip side about I can hear something and play it back to you, and it doesn't take much for me. I guess I can just memorize. I have a sort of what do you call it? Like a photographic memory when it comes to music, I guess, sort of. I don't know. But I think it's easy for both sides to sort of get, like your teacher, that person's relationship to music probably is that music only really exists on the page. Yeah. Music is on the page. It's your job to take it from the page and put it into the world. Versus for you, music doesn't exist on a page. Music only exists when you put it in the world. The page is just this other representation. And it just depends on what your relationship to the page is, I guess.
I mean, do you ever, like, I remember when I was in my bands, I would just like start hearing a song in my head, like an idea in my head, you know, and I would do stuff like, I'd go to band practice. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking, I got this thing where I'm like, you know, like kind of a thing. And then it'd be like, I do like this like weird thing. And then the drummer would be like, okay. And then the bass player would start doing something like, okay. And you know, do you ever do that kind of stuff where or is it just you start with the instruments and just kind of start, you know, organically or?
No, I
you don't do the beatboxing?
No, I absolutely do. I don't do it in front of people.
Oh. Not like you.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, like my phone is always full of, I think anybody that like, all my musician friends have like just pages and pages and pages of like voice notes in their phone of like, okay, it's like, and then the bass line goes, and the drums, you know, it would be so embarrassing if somebody were to like go through my phone, because it's always me in like some corner of a restaurant trying to be quiet and sneaky about like getting this idea out.
That's so
you can hear everybody talking in the background, and it's me whispering, you know. Yes, cool. I definitely do that.
That's awesome, because it's not
also,
just
I don't beatbox as well as you, so I was actually very impressed.
Well, you know, what's funny is that I've like I said, I always wanted to be a drummer, and I hear a lot of times when I would work on songs, I hear the drums, because I always thinking about a really good beat, something that's gonna be catchy. And then I start thinking about what kind of tune could go in that. And before I start thinking about the lyrics, I'd always think about like a hook, like vocally, like a, you know, or something like that, like something. And again, I was in the punk stuff, so it was like something. There was a lot of that kind of, you know. And like, I know there's gonna be some yelling in this one spot. I don't know what's gonna say, but we're gonna be like, you know. It's like, I don't know what we're gonna say, but it's gonna sound really cool. We got to come up with something to say there. And then, like, you know, just come to band practice and be like, I have this idea, but it's all like it sounds like a bunch of, you know. Yeah. But it's cool. It's cool to hear that someone that actually does this for a living has some similarity, or at least you. At least I don't feel like totally insane. No,
I mean, I think that's if you don't have like we were talking about, like if you don't have if you can't write it out. Yeah. You got to figure out another way of getting it out. You got to figure out a way of getting, you know.
It's like the cave music. I'm like a caveman.
It's like, yeah, like we're like the cavemen of like trying to write music.
That's so funny. I have a friend who he's never stopped. You know, I was in his bands actually like 20 years ago, and he's put out several other records. He produces bands and stuff. And he's contacted me recently. He's got a whole studio now in Chicago, and he wants to get the one band back together just for a reunion record, just for fun.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Are you up for it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess, dude." So that's gonna happen sometime. I don't know what, but you know. So I've started like working on some stuff already, and he's already got a couple riffs, and it's just weird how it just starts to like feel natural, like back in that flow of, you know, oh man, we're writing some punk rock again. But is this weird? But like whatever. Yeah. But at least now I feel like I have something to say.
Yeah.
Where like back then, you know, I don't even remember. We sang. I don't know. We had stupid. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like what we didn't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I remember like the songs I was writing when I was like 15, 16. Like, yeah, we're like a political punk band. Oh yeah, what are your politics?
Yeah.
What do you know? What do you know, kid? It's funny like what you go all in on when you're a kid.
Oh yeah. Oh no, for sure. Yeah, that's really funny. I remember like in my first band, there was like this battle of the bands.
Uh-huh.
And the popular band in high school. First of all, I got picked on so much the first years of high school,
right?
And during the summer after my junior year is when I started, I started playing guitar, and I joined this band. We called I met this guy that worked for my mom's. She worked for the Salvation Army. She was like a manager or something, and he was a guy that was down in the basement baling clothing like and stuff. It was a disgusting job. I went down there, and I thought every time I went down there I was going to get a disease or something.
Right.
But there was all this polyester clothing everywhere. And he was a guitar player, and I was just learning. And he's like, "Hey, we should be in a band." I'm like, "Cool." And he happened to know a guy that was a drummer and a bass player. And then we kind of got together. Well, how we got together was I was in that choir class, and there was like the teacher said, "Hey, there's a battle of the bands at the end of the first week of the first new year or school year." So I'm coming back from summer, from previous years of just being like the lame kid, and now I've got like long blonde hair, so I like let it all grow. I looked completely different, and the popular band was Sled Napkin. That was the popular band in school. Yeah, and so I told the guys like, "Hey, you guys want to actually write some music? There's a thing we could enter it." Like, "Oh, sure." So we wrote one song together. I still remember it was called Bubbling. I have no idea what it was about. It was just a lot of mumbles. It's one of those things where you just mumble into the words and like, I don't know what this, it probably didn't even mean anything, seriously. And then we needed a band name, so called ourselves Polyester. And I remember it was actually one of the coolest. I mean, it's like literally out of like Glee or something like that, where we had one song. That's all we had. And we get called up into this gymnasium thing, and please welcome Polyester. Nobody recognizes everyone in my band. They're all in college, and they all look like older guys. They all have goatees and stuff. And then no one recognized me because I had changed so much during the summer. And I come out and I sing, and I did well. The singing was good, and we won the thing. And then all of a sudden it was like people were like, you got to play at this place, you got to play at that place. And before you knew it, like the next week, we had a gig with another band. We only had one song. So like we spent that week, we wrote 2 more songs. So we show up at the gig, we only had 3 songs. And so it just kept building like that. And of course, like for some reason it was up to me to come up with because I was the singer. Like I had to somehow come up with the lyrics, and I wish I could know what the stupid things were that I was writing. I have no idea. But it's just funny thinking about it, because like you said, it's like when you're a teenager like that and you decide to jump into that, you just kind of jump into it. It's like, you're invisible, Yeah. It's kind of funny. Yeah. It's kind of like what I feel like I'm doing with the comedy thing right now. I almost feel that way, like very naked, just kind of jumping into it. It's weird.
Yeah, it's strange, like I guess, that's why as we get older, we stop doing things like that, like putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions. When you're a kid, you jump in the water and it doesn't even occur to you that it's cold.
Yeah. Or that there's sharks in there.
Or that there are, but yeah, I remember playing my first handful of shows with bands that were just absolutely terrible. Yeah. Just utter garbage. And we were so excited, so proud of ourselves, so like we're doing this thing, we're doing the thing that the guys that we really love do. And maybe that's all it is that for kids, it's an imitation game. It's all about like, okay, find the thing that you are aspiring to and just imitate along the way until you gain enough knowledge that you actually have an opinion about something. It's all imitation up till that point, I think. Because all we wanted to be was, we wanted to be Sonic Youth and Jane's Addiction and Unwound.
It's funny. Around that time when I was in the high school band, the Bulls on Parade came out. Mm-hmm. And this one band that I kind of fiddle around with. We never really had a band, but I went to one band practice with him. And the reason I left right away was because it was just, I was like, oh man, no. They were just like so obsessed with the Beastie Boys and Rage Against the Machine, but they had no, like, they were just literally taking like a Allen wrench on the guitar, just like the whole time with like some kind of beat, and they were just like, and the singer kept saying sure shot. It's like, that's not your song. like what are you doing? Like,
can't do that.
Yeah, go back to skateboarding.
Yeah.
Oh, but anyways, hey, I want to show you, I've got a few drawings that some fans did. I don't have like
cool.
a ton, because it was kind of a last minute thing. I got a few people so I want to show you real quick. I think you'll get a kick out of it. So let me know if you see this.
I see it.
You see it?
Yeah. I'd date him.
Oh, yeah. So this is by Jacques Lamonnier. I love saying this guy's name. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Mark Watrous is. I think he's trying to a little play on the podcast name and Watrous.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
What does Watrous mean, by the way?
It's Waterhouse. It is. It's just it's the same family, I guess. But I think when my ancestors came over on the boat, their accents were just thick enough. If you say it with a thick enough Cockney accent, Waterhouse becomes Waterhouse.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
That's funny. Awesome. So this next one is by Waleed Shihab.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, and he's been submitting a lot lately, and it's cool because every single time he does like a completely different style, so it's kind of cool. He's always trying to change things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I like the different angles and so on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then let's see. I think there's only one more, maybe. Yeah, this is the last one. And yeah, and this one, I goofed up. I actually put this was by Mark Watrous. No, this is by.
I did this one. I sent it.
Yeah. This is by Dominic Zeilinger. I remember who did it. And he's another one of those artists that every single week he does something completely different, like style-wise and stuff, which is cool. I like the angles.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you all. These are incredible. I love them.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll send you those. Let me try to do this. So let me know. Do you see me?
I see you.
Hold on a second. I don't know if I'm back to normal, but I think so.
You look like you.
All right, my screen looks a little different. That's why I wasn't sure. But yeah, that's fine. Like I love doing. It's weird. You never know. Like sometimes I get the craziest bunch of drawings from people from all over the place. Yeah. And I started this podcast about a year or so ago, and I had do you know Robert Ellis?
Yeah.
Okay, I had him on, and he was playing here in Chicago, and I went into the green room with him and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. And he was sitting on a piano bench in his white cowboy outfit and everything. He's about to go on, and it was hilarious. We had a really fun talk, but I showed him. So I was showing him in person, like on my iPad, and there was this drawing I showed him, and he almost fell off the bench. It was the funniest thing, how hard he was laughing. Because like some guy drew him, I don't know, like playing piano, but somehow for some reason he's sitting on a tortoise, and it's just like so random and weird. But the image was just so funny. But so, anyways, man, we've been talking for quite a bit. It's been a fun talk, man. It's been really good just to catch up and just to hear your voice.
Yeah.
So before we wrap this bad boy up, is there anything that you want to promote or direct people to, anything that they can check out soon, or tours or anything coming up?
Yeah, I mean, we got so much stuff coming up. Neon Castles. We have a single dropping. This will probably come out after February 26th, but we got a single dropping on February 26th. We'll be playing, all over Nashville over the next few months. So keep an eye out for that. You can find us on social, the social media world. And then, for anybody out there that's listening to it or remembers it, Loudermilk we're doing 3 shows. Might be the last 3 shows you ever get to see. But yeah, that's April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in Seattle, Spokane, and Richland, Washington.
That's awesome.
Those will be really fun.
Going back to the homeland.
Yeah.
That's so cool. There's going to be fog and flannel flying.
There will be some, yes. There will be some flannel.
You got to wear the flannel for me. You're going to grow a beard by then?
Yeah. I have to have just a little that guy right there.
And you know what? That's another thing I got to say. So the first time I met you, you kind of looked like a mix between George Harrison and Jesus or something.
You had a big beard,
like white Jesus, yeah. But you have the most perfect beard I've ever seen. You look great without it. I'm just saying. I remember the first time I met you, I'm like, damn, that guy's got such a good beard. It just looked so. It was I can grow like a mustache, and that's pretty much it. I still have nothing. It's like nothing.
Oh,
it's never gonna happen. Not at this state.
Yeah.
No. But
they always Every once in a while, I'm like, maybe I should grow a beard again.
I think you had long hair too. I think you had long hair and a beard.
I did.
Oh man, good old days.
Good days.
That's really funny. Well, thanks so much, man, for hanging out, joining me, and I really appreciate it. It was fun. And make sure you say hi to the lady for me.
I will.
The lovely wife, feminine particle.
Yes.
That. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you all on the flippity flop.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one, man.
You want answers?